in the battle with right and true. Indiana, Indiana, we're all for you.
From Assembly Hall in Bloomington, Indiana, welcome to the 1981-82 basketball season. I'm Chuck Marlowe along with John Laskowski, and today the NCAA defending champions, Indiana, open against the Redskins of Miami of Ohio. John, we have a lot of changes that we're going to have to tell the fans about this year, but a little bit about this game.
Well, I'll tell you, there have been a lot of changes in Indiana basketball. The last game we did was at Illinois on our regular IU network. Of course, a lot of things that we'll talk about that later. Right now, Miami, they run a pattern similar to Indiana. They're well coached, good defense, a motion offense. Indiana team, the biggest change I think is 6 juniors, 5 freshmen. So it's going to be an interesting year. It's going to be a learning year, and it's going to be hard to top last year, but I think this team's going to try to do it.
Well, the enthusiasm of the university hasn't let down one single bit. All the fans are here, and we'll be back with the starting lineups in just a moment.
Holy smokes. Where in blue blaze you going?
Gotta get this to Mr. Farley. We're closing.
Whatever happened to the guy who went out of his way so you didn't have to, and who always delivered what he promised? Today, he works for Farm Bureau Insurance.
One claim check to Mr. Howard T. Farley for the full amount.
You're looking at Miami of Ohio. Darrell Hedrick in his 12th season as coach of the Redskins, record 161 and 120. And we'll take a look at Indiana in just a moment, but right now we'll go down to the public address announcer Chuck Kraft for the starting lineups for this afternoon's game.
At one forward for Miami, a 6'2 senior from Portsmouth, Ohio, number 34, Jeff Lyson. For Indiana at forward, a 6'6 junior from Indianapolis, Indiana, number 24, Randy Wittman. At forward for Miami, a 6'6 sophomore from Columbus, Ohio, number 44, Chuck Don. And for Indiana at forward, a 6'8 junior from Galveston, Indiana, number 30, Ted Kitchel. The Miami center, a 6'8 senior from Fort Wayne, Indiana, number 54, George Schweigert. At center for Indiana, a 6'8 junior from Washington, Indiana, number 54, Steve Bouchie. Point guard for Miami, a 5'11 junior from Portsmouth, Ohio, number 10, Craig Tubbs. And at guard for Indiana, a 6'3 junior from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, number 20, Jim Thomas. The other starting guard for Miami, a 6'2 sophomore from Cincinnati, Ohio, number 35, Billy Lewis. The other starting guard for Indiana, a 6'2 junior from Chicago, Illinois, number 31, Tony Brown. The head coach for Miami is Darrell Hedrick. The head coach of your Indiana Hoosiers is Bob Knight.
Okay, there are the lineups. We're going to have the presentation of colors. The officials for today's game, Gary Muncie, Tom Rucker, and Mike Stockner. And just before our national anthem, we welcome everybody to the 1981-82 Farm Bureau Insurance
Let us
Basketball
pay
Network. We're awfully glad to have you with us.
Directed by Wilbur England and featured vocalist Professor Roy Samuelson. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the early light what's a proudly veiled at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the rampart we watched were so gallantly streaming. On the rocket's red glare, the standing in air, did prove to the night that the flag was still there. Oh, sailors, that star-spangled banner yet wave, for the land.
There will be a special presentation made just before the start of today's game. And John, of course, there's been much talk about the injury, of course, to Landon Turner. We'll talk a little bit about that right now. Let's go back to Chuck Kraft.
Special date for Indiana basketball. A special game was played in Market Square Arena that evening between the Indiana Pacers and a team of NBA All-Stars. The game was put together by the Pacer organization and also former IU players spearheaded by Isaiah Thomas. The proceeds from the event, of course, are going to the Landon Turner Trust Fund. Now walking onto McCracken Court is Pacers General Manager Bob Salyers, and he'll be presenting a check to Dr. Otis Bowen on behalf of the Turner Trust Fund. The check is made out for over $93,500. For their generous assistance in this worthwhile cause.
Bob Salyers, the general manager of the Indiana Pacers, and former Governor Otis Bowen accepting the check from the Pacers. A fine tribute. Tell you, there's certainly, when we talk about the family of Indiana basketball, John, this is a good indication. It goes to all roots.
It really has been exemplified over this past summer with the injury to Landon. Former players at United, the Pacers have, even opponents. Iowa and Michigan State had exhibition games this year to raise money for Landon. So it's just great to know that you come from a good conference and a great school.
Okay, now we're going to witness one of the first rules changes. Basketball fans are going to see the first and last jump ball in a college basketball game here today. The opening tip is it, and the tip is controlled by Miami. We'll tell you more about that. We'll reestablish it now. Each team will alternate taking it out of bounds on jump ball or held ball conditions. In the corner, this is Don firing. No good. Miami still controlling underneath Don with court position underneath. 3 seconds, however, as Tom Rucker makes the first call and the first turnover.
Miami likes to set up in a 1-4 offense, which means there's one guard will bring the ball up the floor. That'll be Tubbs. The other 4 players will be under the basket. 2 big men right underneath it. 2 other guards at the free throw line.
Indiana with the ball. Jim Thomas, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Spent most of his season here during the summer working on his game and working on his education. Tony Brown, Randy Wittman. Indiana with its experienced lineup in there, and that gives cause for conversation. The Hoosiers with 11 on the team, redshirting Mike Lefebvre so he can grow and mature a little bit. Here's Thomas from outside, no good. Rebound to Bouchie, he puts it up, no good. Tips again, Give it to Bouchie.
One of the big changes we talked about, Chuck, I think will be Steve Bouchie this year. He's lost weight over the summer. He played quite a bit back in his home in Washington, Indiana, and he's really come to play this year, evidenced by the first basket.
Underneath, here's a good pass up and in. Jeff Lyzett, his first basket. Lyzett from Portsmouth, Ohio, coached by Dip Hopkins over there. Here's Brown to Bouchie. Underneath. Jimmy Thomas with a good cut.
Jim Thomas working inside. Really, Indiana has 3 guards, Jim Thomas, Tony Brown, and Randy Wittman in the lineup. That affords one of them to go inside. That time, Jim Thomas.
35 is Billy Lewis. This is Tubbs. Lewis left side. Indiana has 6 juniors and 5 freshmen. Lies it. Now back to Tubbs. Indiana still in its man-to-man, taken out of his hands by Bouchie. Up off the glass, no good, and Bouchie gets the board. Loses the ball, scramble. Tony Brown in good position. Brown moving into the passing lane, a behind-the-back pass. Tony picked it off. Kitchel. So Ted Kitchel hits the boards. Kitchel has 2, Bouchie 2, and Jim Thomas has scored. It's 6-2 Indiana. We're in the first 2 minutes of play here at Assembly Hall. First game of the season. Firing from outside, Craig Tubbs. Tubbs 5'11", a junior from Portsmouth, also coached by Hopkins. Brown to the left side. Bouchie, no good. Out of bounds, last touch, says Chuck Muncie, by Indiana. So the Redskins will bring it up.
Indiana's running the motion offense. It's an offense Coach and I brought in many years ago. The team used it quite a bit last year, so the players are familiar with it. They'll get good open baseline shots.
Ball lost out of bounds by Miami. Indiana, that's turnover number 2 by Miami. The Hoosiers now with the 2-point lead and the ball. Tony Brown underneath the Kitchel. We have a foul. And it's going to be on 34. Lies it. He's called for his first personal. Chuck Muncie.
Indiana will try to clear that middle out with 3 guards in the offense. You want them to stay on the perimeter at times to leave Bouchie and Kitchel room inside to get open. That time Kitchel got open right at the dotted line. There was no one else to help.
All right, here's Ted with the ball. Bouchie tipped over. Brown recovered. Now Thomas. Here's Brown, 18 feet, no good. And Miami on the run. Taken away by Tony, good hands. Both teams wanting to run here in the early moments. Here's Kitchel, back up off the glass, good, and he's fouled.
Indiana fast break that time. Tony Brown got to Wittman. He saw Kitchel out of the corner of his eye. Had to be a quick pass, and it was. Kitchel goes up strong.
The foul was on Lewis, his first, second against the team. And Kitchel from Galveston, Indiana, Lewis Cass, misses the 3-point opportunity. Tubbs to the left side. Brown right up on his shoulder. Bouchie all over. 44, Don. Now Tubbs. Tubbs will fire. Rebound. Thomas. Kitchel on the break. Good. Kitchel has 6. The Hoosiers have 10 and lead by 6.
Good play by Jim Thomas that time. He had to fight for that rebound. He took one quick dribble, looked to see who was open. It was Kitchel.
Now Darrell Hedrick calls timeout. Miami calls a time. You're watching Indiana basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Indiana leads the Redskins 10-4. Assembly Hall, there you see the score, 10-4. Indiana with a 6-point lead. Miami calling the timeout in possession of the ball. They'll have it out of bounds far side. 34 is Liza. Lewis. And Muncie calls it a palm, a turnover. That's the third floor error for Miami in the early goings. We have 15.5 minutes left of the first half.
Good pressure defense by Indiana. It's caused Miami some trouble. They called that timeout to try to get some offense generated.
Kitchel underneath on a great pass from Bouchie. Give Bouchie the assist. Kitchel with his 8th point. Just took a route down the baseline. Bouchie read it, fired it in. 2 points. It's 12-4. Indiana's lead is 8. Up. 54 is Swigert. He fires. It connects. Swigert's first basket. 6'9", 225 senior from Fort Wayne North. Randy Wittman. Now Thomas. And a pass just a little bit too deep inside off the hands of Brown. Here comes Miami. Driving and scoring is Billy Lewis. His first basket. And Indiana's margin has been cut to 4. 12-8 with 14.5 minutes left in the first half. Wittman to Brown. Brown on the point. Brown takes the middle, just sort of finger rolls it up. The basket is good.
Tony Brown with the ball on top. Sees an opening down the middle, goes up. There you see Don setting up defensive position. Tony gets the basket, charged with the foul.
As the first personal against Indiana. Miami has 2 as Tubbs walks it up. He'll be met by Brown at midcourt. This is Liza, now Brown. Correction, Tubbs.
Defensively, see Indiana clogging up the middle. They want to keep Miami out of the middle. So far, Tubbs has not been able to penetrate. Most of the Miami offense has been around the perimeter.
Swigert, corner to Lewis. He'll fire. No good. Good position underneath. Swigert misses the basket, goes up again. This time he's fouled, and Bouchie gets a little bit more than just the ball. He'll be called for his first personal. And we'll have our opportunity to now to see the 7'2" freshman from Munich, Germany. Played his high school ball for 2 years at Effingham in Illinois. Uwe Blop.
Watched him a few times in practice, Chuck. He's fundamentally a pretty sound player. He's only played about 3 years. He's working on a hook shot. He's got a little right-handed hook shot he likes to shoot. He's got a good touch. He goes out to about 6, 7, 8 feet. Takes a little turnaround jump shot. He has good hands. I think that's the biggest factor that we're going to look for. He catches the ball, grabs rebounds very well.
First by Swigert is good.
When it's released, we go. Now let it release the hands. Here you go.
Indiana now with 2 personals. Miami with 2 team fouls. Swigert's second shot is also good, and we have a 14-10 game. Indiana's lead again, back to just 4 points as we near the 13-minute mark. The nearly 700 Farm Bureau insurance agents in Indiana hope that you'll be with us throughout the entire season. Very glad to have you with us today. Here's Blop. Turnaround, no good. Reaches over, and I think he's going to commit his first foul of the season. Let's check. Yes, it is, on Blop. That will be a tendency, John, especially I would imagine for a young player who does not recognize that he's not at the advantage in the height that he was in high school. He's going to have to reach over some shoulders and just going to have to be content that if he misses the shot and he's lost his position to stay away.
It's a new experience really for all 5 freshmen. They're going to have to play a lot with 11 people on the team. They've got to be ready to play.
Here's Tubbs. We have a substitution for Miami, too. We'll pick that up in just a moment. Number 43, Jim Manuel from Brownstown, Indiana. A shot on a good position by Jeff Lysath, his 4th point. And it's 14-12. Margin has been cut to 2 as the Redskins fight their way back into this game. Brown waiting for it to set up underneath. Here's Kitchel behind the screen by Blah. Bounces around, no good. And recovered by the Redskins. Lysath Shot no good by Manuel. Kitchel underneath to Wittman. Up off the glass, no good. Bounces around. Here's Thomas. No good. He's fouled. I believe getting an arm in there was Manuel. We'll take a look.
Jimmy Thomas coming up with the ball again. How many times did we see that in the North Carolina game last year? That's his strong point. Coming off that ball, he took it right into the big center and got the foul.
Manuel with his first personal, team foul number 3, and another substitution, Tim Kroger from Delphos, Ohio, St. John High School, coached by Bob Arnson. And I'm wondering, we were trying to find out whether that's the same Bob that played at Notre Dame or not, John. Shot by Thomas is good. First of 2. Jim Thomas, Nova High School, Fort Lauderdale, a junior. Isaac lets the second one roll around on the rim and drop through. He has 4. Indiana now has a 4-point lead, 16-12. 24 is Chuck Stahl. Stahl, 6'4", and a sophomore, and he'll be guarded closely by Thomas. Tubbs in the corner to Stahl. He'll fire and connect.
Jimmy Thomas that time came a little bit off his man to try to double team. Kitchel went out to try to help. Stahl made the jump shot.
Randy Wittman looks underneath the block, then comes back to Thomas. Kitchel, good move, and he's fouled as he goes to the basket, and I believe number 43, Manuel, gets him again.
Good work inside by Kitchel and Blop that time. Blop sets the pick. Kitchel comes across the middle. Manuel comes over. Kitchel with a hook shot to try to get over Manuel. He's 7 foot tall. They've countered, Miami's countered Uwe by putting Manuel in the ball game.
Coach Knight having a couple of words with Tony Brown and Jim Thomas as Ted Kitchel readies his first of 2 from the line.
Stay here. Thank you.
Ted has 9. We have 11 minutes, 45 seconds remaining in the first half.
I guess we do. They told us no. Okay, one.
There's some conversation by the officials underneath. Chuck Muncie, the closest to the microphone. Second shot is good. Blop has 10 points, and we have a timeout. You're watching Indiana basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Indiana leads Miami 18-14.
Whatever happened to the guy who stayed late to finish the job, even though it could wait until tomorrow? And who sacrificed time with his family to help you with yours? Today, he works for Farm Bureau Insurance.
Hi.
You all finished?
Applications will go out first thing tomorrow.
Saved us some dinner.
Hello, I'm Dale Osborne. I've been riding pasture land for some 40 years. See those antelope and deer over there? They're grazing on top of what was an Amex coal mine here in Wyoming. In the West and Midwest, Amex Coal Company goes to special care in reclaiming the land so that it's as good or better than it was before it was mine. Right, Mother Nature?
My friends think it's good enough to eat.
Amex Coal Company. We're resourceful with the land.
When time is back in, it'll be Miami's ball to bring up. It's number 10, Tubbs, number 24, Stahl in the backcourt. And underneath, Lewis, number 42, Kroger, and 43, Manuel. Underneath it goes, blocked away nicely by Indiana. Up to Kitchel, and he'll slow it up. Looks for his guard. Here's Brown to Wittman all alone. No good. Tipped out of bounds, last touch by Miami. Kitchel fighting for the ball. Miami deflected it out of bounds. So the Hoosiers now with another opportunity, leading by 4 and a chance to extend.
Indiana so far, Chuck, is 7 of 15, 46% from the field. Miami 6 of 11, 54%. 5 turnovers for Miami.
Substitution, Lewis back in for Miami, 54. This is Swigert. He returns to the lineup, replacing Liza and Manuel.
Good play by Kitchel that time. He got the lead pass on a fast break. He still had half the floor to go. He decided to hold it up and get it to a guard. Good, smart play.
Tony Brown brings it around on top. That's the offense set up underneath. Here's Kitchel. Bounces to Blab. He turns around. No good. Almost deflected in by a Redskin. Lewis. Jimmy Thomas right on his shoulder. Now Tubbs. Here's Brown. Defend them down to the corner, John. Is this a strategy that Indiana uses against everyone?
Very much so. You want to try to take the players into the corners, especially Tubbs. He's left-handed. That time Tony Brown coaxed him over to the right side. Therefore, he's got to use his right hand going toward the corner. That time he snuck up from behind him.
Oh, here's a bounce and a blind side. Catches Indiana napping. Give the basket to Chuck Stahl, his 4th point, and it's 18-16. Indiana just not able to move away. Miami taking advantage of some mental mistakes by the Hoosiers here in the early going of the first half. We have 10.5 minutes left to play. First half. Underneath the blob, he just drops it in. Uwe Blop has his first 2 points as a Hoosier.
Jim Thomas, a really good play that time. He got the ball back to Block on a return pass. Jimmy Thomas didn't have it and got it back to him.
Whistle, we have a foul. Blop was defending as well as Thomas. Chuck Muncy will make the call. There's the replay on it. There's Blop going up, but Thomas got the arm. So Jim Thomas gets his first personal. That's team foul number 4 against Indiana. As Randy Wittman sits down to take a breath, and John Flowers from Fort Wayne South comes in. We'll tell you a lot about this young man.
He's a fine athlete. He's a good track man. He's got a great body. 6'10". He's strong. He's quick. He jumps well. He's really a hard worker.
Shot no good by Willoughby, and at that last whistle, tipped away. A hand deflection by a Blop whistle, and we have Flowers call for the first personal as Swigert went to the basket.
Good action underneath the basket that time. There's the block by Uwe. Now you got to come up with the ball. It's just not good enough to block it. Indiana scrambles for it. Swigert got it.
Swigert will be shooting 2. He has 4 points. 20-16. The Hoosiers by 4. First by Swigert is no good. Here's the second. It's right on target. So it's a 3-point differential now, 20-17. Jimmy Thomas will solo it up on the right side. Indiana with a lot of motion underneath the basket. Kitchel off the glass and good. Ted Kitchel really has the hand today. He has 12 points. And Indiana has a 22-17 lead. Back to 5. Lewis tries to go around Blop, dribbles off his own foot. Uwe's intimidating just by size alone, John.
Exactly on that play. The Miami guard came around and saw Uwe standing there, tried to get it around him on a pass, dribbled the ball out of bounds.
Tony Brown, as Flowers tries to cut through underneath, now gives to Thomas. Kitchel, double fake, tip, and saved by Miami. Willoughby. Now to Lewis. This is Stahl. Willoughby on the left side. Tipped away, and then a good move by number 42, Kroger, over John Flowers on the reverse layup, 22-19.
Good trap by Indiana that time on the baseline. They had 3 players around the Miami defender. He found the open man.
Uwe on a nice feed from Jim Thomas. Blop has 4. Thomas has another assist.
Big difference that time. Kitchel tried to get Uwe the ball, but threw it where Redskin could get it the last time. This time, Jimmy Thomas put it up high. No one else could get it. Uwe put it in the basket.
Willoughby. Willoughby's the shortest player out on the floor right now. Here's another reverse layup and a foul. Kitchel will be called for his first personal. Give the basket to Chuck Stahl. It's his 6th point, and Randy Wittman's back in now. As Kitchel will come over and sit down, we'll look at it again.
Miami's working the baseline that time. There you see 24 Stahl goes in for a reverse layup. Kitchel on the foul.
John, in the Indiana concept of basketball, the baseline is the one area Indiana does try to shut down probably more with its man-to-man.
Right, you want to force to the corner, but you can't let them get around the baseline. They have the last 2 times down the floor.
Stahl has 7 points. Miami has 22 and trailed the Hoosiers by 2. Farm Bureau Insurance and the nearly 700 Farm Bureau Insurance agents in Indiana, your hosts for today's game from Assembly Hall. Bad pass, saved, and then off the hands of Tony Brown. Nice effort by Miami. That's Willoughby. And Tony just couldn't find the handle. Now we'll see another freshman. And this youngster really, a lot of people up around Muncie are very familiar with him. Rick Rore, number 44. Rore shows a lot of promise, John. You've seen some practices, too.
He's done very well. I think all the freshmen are going to come along fine. They need playing time. They need experience, just like now that they're getting.
Stahl. That goes back to 54 Swigert, knocked away by Brown, saved by Miami. Here's Lewis on the drive, deflected by Rore. There he is, right in the passing lane. That's what Coach likes to see.
Good hustle that time. You saw Tony Brown on the steal. He's out of position. Uwe picked his man up, and then Rowry came down to pick up another Redskin.
Timeout. You're watching Indiana basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Indiana leads Miami 24-22.
Choosing a standard size pickup with high 6-cylinder estimated MPG is really no problem, because when you get to the bottom of it, it's Ford. Yes, this new Ford FS pickup gets this great estimated MPG, the highest ever achieved by a standard size 6-cylinder Ford pickup. And for pickups that can carry a heavy 2,500 pounds, the Ford F-150 is up there with this high estimated MPG. So if you want the spacious comfort of a standard size pickup, plus gas mileage this high, get a down-to-earth tough Ford. America's truck. It's built Ford Tough.
Whatever happened to the guy who went out of his way so you wouldn't have to? And who carried the idea of service all the way to your front door? Today, he works for Farm Bureau Insurance.
Your policy came in today, so I thought I'd drop it by.
Right, you didn't have to do that.
Miami has the ball. Lewis will throw it in for the Redskins. We have a whistle. Foul apparently underneath. Blocking foul under number 42. That is Kroger, his first personal foul on the inbounds play. So that's a dead ball turnover and a big break for the Hoosiers. They have an opportunity to bring it up. There's pressure in the backcourt now by the Redskins. Rore picks his dribble up, but does get it up to Brown.
Indiana now 10-20 from the field, 50%. Miami 9-16, 56% is very good.
Brown, Wittman, he finds the mark. That's Randy's first basket. Indiana has 26. We have 7.5 minutes left to play, first half. Billy Lewis underneath. There's a jam underneath there. We have a foul. Chuck Muncie making the call. It'll be against Indiana. And number 42 is called for the personal. That is John Flowers, his second.
It's on Flowers. When the opponent cuts toward the baseline there, he's going toward the basket. You got to stay in front of him. You got to prevent that pass from coming in. Flowers trailed in that time, got behind. As the ball came in, he tried to reach around and charge with the foul.
Tubbs replaces Willoughby for Miami. At the line shooting will be Tim Kroger, his first trip to the charity stripe. 1-1. In effect now for Miami. First is off the rim, no good. Tipped out. Rore has it knocked out of his hands, but Flowers comes up with the ball. Brown to the right side. Now this is a young lineup in there right now. Only one junior in the lineup, and that's Randy Wittman. To Ube. Here's Wittman. Fires and connects.
Good look by Uwe that time. He gets the ball inside. If he feels there's 2 or 3 players on him, he knows someone's got to be open. He held the ball over his head, looked to the weak side where Randy was.
Tubbs picked up by Brown. Underneath, deflected by Randy Wittman. Here comes Brown, fast break, but now he slows it up. He had 2 in front of him, Rore and Flowers, and he elected to hold it up. Now Rore, number 44, Muncie. Under the blop. He bounces once, hooks, no good. Tipped up by Flowers and good. John Flowers with a real drive to the left side, timed it well and sort of finger rolled it above the rim and dropped through.
That's the kind of things John Flowers can do. Here's the replay. The ball almost got out of his reach. Look how long he hung in the air. That made the difference. The ball was going away from him. He still tipped it in.
John Flowers with his first basket as a Hoosier. Now the Redskins will bring it up slowly, and Roray is going to put on three-quarter pressure. Now he lets Tubbs drive him to the right side. Flop shuts it down. And good. I'll tell you, Craig Tubbs got a fine shot. He's only 5'11", shooting over 7'2". 30-24. The Hoosier lead is 6. Wittman. Brown. Lob, turn around, good! Uwe Blomnik seems like maybe a little edge is off of him. Now he's very calm. Makes that behind the basket turn and a soft shot for two, John.
When he goes to his left, he got that hook shot. When he goes to his right, he's got a jump shot. He can go either way.
Lewis. Swigert, whistle. And a foul's going to be on Flowers. That will be his third. So John's picked up 3 quick ones in about 4 minutes and 20 seconds or so. We're going to see Steve Bouchie again. Roray will sit down. Here comes Flowers out of the lineup. Back in is Ted Kitchel. So the Hoosiers now with their more experienced lineup in there, save for Uwe Flop.
One of the things Flowers will need to work on is he gets out of position on defense. We had 2 fouls called on now. He just wasn't about a half a step late, and it caused you to make fouls like that. That's what Coach Knight mentioned to him as he came out of the game.
Now Darrell Hedrick matching up as he puts Chuck Don, 6'7", and a sophomore, back in the lineup. So Don will probably have Kitchel as the assignment. At the line is Swigert, 6'9". First, 1-1, no good. Flop high over the top, pulls it down. There's the advantage of height and going straight up. Whitman, Brown. Now they're running 2 guards out, which would be Whitman and Brown in this case. Here's Kitchel. He goes underneath Flop, and we have a whistle. And I'll check to see. Number 44, I believe, 43, as we look at it again.
Uwe with the ball. He feels 2 men on him, which means someone has to be open. This time it's Kitchel. He goes inside, misses the shot, but got fouled.
Manuel picks up his 3rd personal. And back in the lineup for Miami is number 42, Tim Kroger. Kitchel will be shooting 2. He has 12 points. And Indiana's lead is 8. First by Ted is good. There's Darrell Hedrick down talking to a couple of his players. Second shot is no good. Rebound. Pulled off hard by Kroger, and up come the Redskins. Tubbs. Tubbs got a very quick move. Oh, good move, good pass. No shot. Called offensive foul against number 44, Chuck Don. Let's look at it again.
Here's Tubbs again. Tony got him going to the right. Now look at the help. 3 Indiana players there. There's Kitchel helping out.
Now they call the foul. They pointed to number 44, Don, but they call the foul on Tubbs. Tubbs on the pass, charged into Ted Kitchel. So let's erase the foul on Don, give the foul to number 10, Craig Tubbs. As Jim Thomas comes back in, he'll give Tony Brown a rest. Tony has played a pretty good first half, John.
Really, Tubbs is the guy who can control this Miami team. We've seen him go to the baseline, even to the right side, and get a few baskets. You've got to get somebody in there like Tony who can control Tubbs. That time a foul.
First of a 1-and-1 is good. Kitchel now has 14. The Hoosiers have a 10-point lead, 34-24, with 5:10 left in the first half. Here's the second on its way. It's good. Ted is 5 for 7 from the strike. 35-24, Indiana's lead. Here's Tubbs. Jim Thomas, look at that, just real quick fake and just leaves Tom right in his shoes. Here's Tubbs firing, no good. Rebound to Bouchie. Now Thomas brings it up quickly. Miami staying in a man-to-man. And we had that anticipation early in the game. They would go to the zone if they had to, but they like to play man-to-man. Wittman. Bouchie finds the lane. As he starts his drive, he's fouled. And we'll wait to see. It's on number 54 of Miami. That's Swigert, his first personal. Team foul. Both teams now are in the bonus, 1-1. So Bouchie at the line shooting. First is off the front of the rim, no good, and tipped out of bounds. Last touch by Miami. So the Hoosiers get a little break here. Both teams not too sure with their hands in the early going. The first game of the season. I know coaches would like to see more than that, John, but nonetheless, it is the first game.
One of the things Coach Knight is working on is consistency. The teams played well at times and they played bad at times. You've got to develop a team that can play well all through the game, much like we did North Carolina last year.
Klopp trying to assist. He saw Kitchel pass just a little bit too low, and a turnover by the Hoosiers. Here comes Miami. Lysett, Tubbs, now Lysett. Swigert fires, he scores, he's fouled. Klopp picks up the personal, his second. Swigert has 7 points. There's a good shot at the youngster from Munich, Germany. I tell you, John, he speaks as perfect English as most Americans do.
The other thing I think that's important, we talked about it before the game, is that he talks well on the court. As he's the center, he's going to be the last man underneath the basket, much like a catcher. And he'll watch things that go on. He's got to tell the other players what's going on. If you hear a deep voice over the microphone, it's Uwe telling the players there's pick coming or where they're supposed to go. A very important factor in the game.
Indiana leads 35-27. 3 minutes, 53 seconds left. Traveling turnover as Kitchel started up and then took too many steps. Indiana calls timeout. Chuck Franz will be checking in. You're watching Indiana basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Indiana leads the Redskins 35-27.
New York City, 1897. Paul Dresser, one of America's most popular songwriters, reminisces about his boyhood and his home.
Back at Assembly Hall, the first game of the season, Indiana versus Miami of Ohio. The Hoosiers lead 35-27. A turnover by the Hoosiers gives the Redskins a chance to cut into that lead by 2 more. This is Tubbs, guarded by Chuck Franz. Chuck 6'2", out of Clarksville. 54 is Swigert. 34, Lysett.
Miami still shooting well. They're 11 of 18, which is 61%.
Swigert was jammed in the corner. A good trap by Indiana. He had no place to go, so he just bounced it off the leg of a Hoosier, and the Redskins will control.
At that timeout, Coach Knight's going to stress defense. Miami's just getting too good of shots. They haven't taken as many as Indiana, 14 of 25, which is 56%. But you've got to get them to shoot outside more and get that percentage down.
There's a bounce to Swigert. Turnaround jump is good. A little fall away. Swigert has 10. It's 35-29. Indiana leading by as many as 10. Now finds its lead diminished to only 6. Bouchie. France. Underneath. Kitchel. Off the rim. No good. Tipped away. Wittman gets a hand on it. And it's going to be out of bounds, Miami. Good hustle by the Hoosiers, but not really coming up with the grasp on the ball. Coach Knight just shakes his head.
I think that was a good move that time. Kitchel had the ball 3 feet away, going into the basket. It's a good shot. But then it came up loose. Randy Wittman over to get the ball, knocked off his leg out of bounds.
Miami inbounds to Lewis. Lewis with Franz on him tries to use a pick. Ball is back outside. This shot by Sutter, the freshman, no good. And the ball really taking wild bounces underneath. Nobody is really getting a grasp on it, but Jimmy Thomas does come up with it for Indiana. Bouchie. Now to Wittman. Bouchie. Indiana with a lot of motion underneath, and 3 seconds called against the Hoosiers. That brings Coach Knight up again. So many things can bother a coach. I would imagine it bothers all coaches. 3 seconds, especially if you have a motion offense, John.
Well, Kitchel had been working hard that time, and he was open. If he got the pass at the right angle, he was trying to hold his position in there. He just waited too long.
Deflected away by Thomas, saved by Liza. The shot is no good, and here's Wittman out with the ball. Now he'll bring it around, set it up, and give it to Franz. And Franz works it across the line. 2 minutes remaining first half. Bouchie all alone. Yes, sir.
Good shot that time. I think the difference in Steve's play is confidence. He got that ball about 15 feet. Last year he may have been a little hesitant. This year he goes right up with a shot. It makes all the difference in the world.
Swigert, top. Under to Swigert, whistle, and Kitchel reaching over the shoulder is called for his second personal foul. John, I noticed something happening out here. The fans may too as we watch this. Let's call the replay first.
Okay, again, position. Notice Kitchel's behind Swigert. He has to reach around to try to prevent the ball. His position should be between Swigert and the ball. Then as he comes over, he's got to go through Kitchel to get the ball.
All right, Swigert will have the opportunity at the line. And here's Dan Dockich from Gary Andrean replacing Ted Kitchel. Notice several times down the floor, Smith is guarded first by Franz, then the next time Franz is on Tubbs. Is this a natural switch that is taking place back there, or is Coach Knight shifting the assignment?
A lot of times on a transition, offense to defense, you've got to pick up the nearest player to you. You just can't let a guy dribble down the floor. So oftentimes you won't be guarding the man you're assigned to.
Number 55, Tim McQuiston, 6'7" and a freshman in for Miami. He replaces Swigert, who leaves the game with just 1:33 left in the first half with 12 points. Now here's Chuck Franz. Indiana's lead is 6, 37-31. Underneath it goes to Dockich. He turns around up off the glass and good. And he's fouled. Dan Dockich, his first time to handle the ball today, and we'll look at it again on a fine move.
Wittman looking down inside. Dockich has position, feels pressure on his left, turns to his right. Good adjustment of the ball that time and got the hoop.
The foul is on number 55, McQuiston, his first personal. Dan has a chance for a three-point play. Connects. Indiana's lead is 9, 40-31. Minute 15 seconds as we near the 1 minute mark.
Go, Jeff, we're head down here.
Tubb tries to clear out that side, now brings it back on top. Quiston around again, whistle and a foul, and I believe Dockich had a hand on Sudduth. It is on Dan, his first. Sudduth will be shooting 1 and 1. Here's Winston Morgan, Anderson, Madison Heights. I tell you, Phil Buck, as Jim Thomas sits down, takes a rest. Phil Buck has done an excellent job at Madison Heights and supplying Indiana with a lot of good players.
He sent Bobby Wilkerson and Ray Tolbert so far. And with Morgan in there, I think we're going to see another fine product out of Anderson.
Steve Allen, number 12, replaces Liza for the Redskins as Sudduth readies for the first of a 1 and 1. No good. Rebound is to Morgan. Morgan's 6'5". He jumps like he's about 6'9". A tremendously cool ball player. He has a very steady head. Not sensational, just consistent. Let's watch Indiana work. Knocked away, taken right out of his hands. No sooner do I say that. And grabbing the rim, technical foul is called on number 35. That's Billy Lewis. The basket will count. Let's look at it again. We'll see the rim. These are these new, the new rims.
Notice how much spring there on the rim.
Yes.
As Chuck was saying, that's the new rim. It under a certain amount of pressure will snap down instead of snapping off, which can really help in an injury situation.
All right, now
we was called for a technical.
Well, now we see it right now. Apparently there was no technical. They say no foul. So Indiana has the ball out of bounds, unless that's another rules change we didn't know anything about, John. Morgan, good feet underneath the Dockage. He rolls it in.
Dockage does a good job of calling for the ball. When you're open, you got to let people know. That time he stuck both hands in the air so he could be seen.
Tubbs with 13 seconds left in the first half. Now Tubbs to the free throw line. Fires, no good. And the rebound to Wittman. Brings it out with 3 seconds. He'll fire. It's no good. Well, we've come to the end of the first half. With the score, Indiana 42, Miami 33. We'll be back to check the individual scoring in just a minute.
New York City, 1897. Paul Dresser, one of America's most popular songwriters, reminisces about his boyhood and his home.
Round my Indiana homestead wave the cornfields. In the distance bloom the woodlands clear and cool. Oftentimes my thoughts revert to scenes of childhood, where I first received my lessons, nature's school. But one thing there is missing in the picture. Without her face it seems so incomplete. I long to see my mother in the doorway, as she stood there years ago, her boy to greet. Oh, the moonlight's fair tonight along the Wabash. From the fields there comes the breath of new mown hay. Through the sycamores the candle lights are gleaming on the banks of the Wabash far away.
Another Indiana legend, brought to you with pride by Farm Bureau Insurance.
Back at Assembly Hall in Bloomington, Indiana, where the Hoosiers lead the Redskins of Miami of Ohio 42-33. Just a few brief moments here at halftime. We can run over some very unofficial statistics, just give you the high point men for both teams. Ted Kitchel, who is a junior, 15 points high for both teams. George Swigert has 12 for Miami. Turnovers in the early part of this first half of play by Miami looked like it might give Indiana an excellent opportunity to open a margin and then just sort of continue to add to it. But then Indiana began to make their own, John.
Indiana put good pressure on in the beginning. I think Tubbs is really their leader. He's only got 4 points, so somebody else has got to do the scoring, and that's Swigert. Tubbs is getting good penetration, then he's dishing the ball off. Swigert's done a good job. He's hit a lot of free throws, but he's done a good job of positioning himself inside and drawing those fouls. At halftime, Coach Knight's got to go in there and get them to understand to keep Swigert out of there. Position's the difference in the ballgame right now.
John, Indiana was giving the baseline much too much to Miami in the first half, and we touched upon it just briefly. I think you began to develop it just a little bit more, that in Indiana's willingness to allow the opposition to take the ball down to the baseline, they need the help out from underneath the basket to shut down that line from the dribble and or the pass.
As the player comes out from the baseline, usually it's a big center, you've got to prevent that pass from going behind you. Your man's going to be open.
Okay, well, we're at halftime, 42-33, Indiana with the lead. Today's game between Indiana and Miami is being played at Assembly Hall in Bloomington. The score at halftime, the Hoosiers 42, the Redskins 33. All right, thank you. Yeah, you're going to have to lead me through it a bit until I get used to it again. How's it sound? Okay? Good. Okay. John Laskowski at Assembly Hall. While today marks the beginning of the Hoosiers' 1981-82 basketball campaign, it also is the first day of our halftime features. Coach Bob Knight, starting his 11th season as head coach at IU, talks about some of his past teams and previews this year's freshmen.
I had one goal when we came here in 1971 in April 1st. Dave Bliss, who was one of my assistant coaches at the time, I told him that what we wanted to do was play in the NCAA finals in San Diego, which were to be in 1975. So that gave us 4 years to get to the Final Four, and that really was the only goal that we've ever had here. We didn't make that. We got to the NCAA finals in 2 years in St. Louis in '73, but then in '75, which might very well have been our best team, Scott May had a broken arm and was out the end of the season, so we didn't make it.
From a coaching standpoint, was the 1980-81 season your most satisfying?
No, I don't. It really wasn't, Ken, simply because in 1975-76, we went through an entire season undefeated. We were extremely good on the 1st of December, and we were extremely good on the 26th or 7th of March when we played our last game. And the 1980-81 season, the culmination of the season was satisfying. The tournament was enjoyable, satisfying, but there were some frustrating moments during the course of the season. We weren't as good in December as I thought we would be and as I felt we should be. But then by March, we were probably better in March than I thought we would be in March. I think that we were probably the best team in the country without any question in March. Yet I go back to '75-76, and we're the best team in the country in July, October, December, August. Didn't make any difference. And so I think that when people ask me about seasons that we've had, I doubt if we'll ever have anything that's quite comparable to that particular year.
Many people think that you had an absolutely outstanding recruiting year. Tell us something about the new players who are on this squad this year.
Well, we've been, from a practice standpoint, very pleased in that we have a 12-man squad with 5 freshmen, almost half the squad being made up of incoming players who have been very competitive in practice. They have made our practice situations very good. In Uwe, we obviously have the initial benefit of his being 7'2". It's tough to teach a guy to be 7'2". And not only is he big, but he's very intelligent, very aggressive, and I think over the next 4 years will be a very significant contributor to Indiana basketball, as will, I think, each of these 5 freshmen. I think that John Flowers is a great athlete, maybe as good an athlete as I've ever seen come to Indiana. In Rick Roray and Dan Dockish and Winston Morgan, we have 3 very fine players in the size range where players have always been good for us, 6'5" or 6'6". The strength of this freshman group, as I have said, has been the competitive spirit, the ability to compete that each of the 5 kids has brought with him to practice. This has been really good, and we've really both appreciated and benefited from that.
One question then about Bob Knight himself. Many people would say that you have accomplished everything that a coach could accomplish in college basketball. Do you look upon yourself as an uncommon person in the field of basketball? No, I have never tried to analyze myself or evaluate myself. I have simply tried to look at basketball and set up the way I think it should be played, and then tried to go about having teams play it that way. I think there are certain values that need to be taught through the use of basketball as a medium for teaching. You know, the greatest evaluators of basketball here, the most credible people in discussing basketball here, are those people who have played for 4 years. And I think that they have, almost without exception, given basketball at Indiana a very high mark. And that's really the only grade sheet that I've ever had any interest in.
It's It's halftime at Assembly Hall in Bloomington with the score Indiana 42, Miami of Ohio 33. Let's pause now to hear from our local stations. This is the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Now, we don't have anything down from upstairs. All right, back once again at Assembly Hall. John, we have a few individual statistics we might take a look at right now, and your evaluations.
Well, first of all, I think it shows it's a first game. The kids have really been working hard these first 6 weeks of practice, and believe me, I know it's the toughest part of the season, is 6 weeks that you practice before the first game against each other every day. Now, there are a lot of things to learn, but you just want to get to another opponent. And I think if they finally get a chance to, they may be a little nervous, but it just takes time. You know, like I said, we have 6 juniors, 5 freshmen. They need to work more time together in a game situation. Of course, you can't do that in practice. The only way to get game experience is at a game. I think Coach Knight's done a good job of getting all 11 players in the first half. You've got to understand, if you're a player sitting on the bench, that you're going to be used, and each of the players got a chance to go in there and get rid of those first game jitters.
John, we mentioned one of the rules changes that took place during the off-season. There is another one that we have not seen yet, and that is the 10-second line and the relationship of the ball and player to the 10-second line. We'll have to wait until it's applied before we can really describe that. But let me ask you something. Well, what happens to a ball player that spent so many years conditioning to the rules the way they are and then has little things like this change? Does it bother the ball player any?
Well, you've really got to pick up on those things. I know Coach Knight mentioned to all his guards yesterday in practice that what the new rule was, and it goes over with the players, any rule changes that there are. You've got to be smart enough and aware enough, kind of in a wits of yourself, to understand what's going on in the game, especially in a group situation. Know what the rules are, different things to avoid, and I think you've got to have a smart, intelligent team to do that with.
And I would imagine also that this would be another one of these things like a fundamental that is repeated to a player over and over and over until you're really sure that he is conscious of the fact there has been a change.
Exactly right. I think Coach Knight's one of Coach Knight's theories is that talent is pretty well evenly distributed among college teams. This Miami team has good talent. The team that's going to win games is a team that has the fundamentals down the best and doesn't make mistakes. Turnovers like over and back are a mistake.
Okay, now stay tuned for second half action. We'll be ready for that tip-off in just a minute.
Whatever happened to the guy who took pride in his work?
Morning. Fill her up? You bet.
Who wasn't too big to remember the little things?
Check the oil and water? Sure.
Who did things because he wanted to, not because he had to. Today,
Mr. Riley, you'll be back on the road sooner than you thought. That's great.
he works for Farm Bureau Insurance.
Next week, the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network will have 3 games for you on many of these same stations. On Monday night, you can watch Purdue play host to Jackson State at 7:30. Then on Tuesday night, the Indiana Hoosiers will battle Notre Dame at 7:30, followed by the Saturday night game between Purdue and DePaul. Farm Bureau Insurance, proud to present Indiana and Purdue basketball for the 10th consecutive year.
You're looking at the Miami stats for the first half. George Swigert is the leading scorer with 12 points. Chuck Stahl has 7. There are 3 at 4. Lyson, Tubbs, and Lewis. And Kroger has 2. 18 fouls spread over these players, with Manuel, number 43, the only one in any trouble. He has 3. John?
Indiana was 17 of 30 in the first half from the field, 56%. Miami was 13 of 23, also 56%. One of the things Indiana's need to work on is to get Miami to shoot from outside more. They're shooting a good percentage, and the game would be a lot closer if they'd have gotten more shots off. Indiana with 19 rebounds. Miami has 11. Turnovers are even at 8 apiece. Individually, Bouchie has 5 rebounds. Lewis has 3 for Miami.
Well, aside from the spread of the score, it's much closer statistically than what one might assume, John.
It really is. Miami is still in this ball game, down by just 9 points, and I think, as we've mentioned so many times before, the first 5 minutes will make a difference.
All right, here is the no tip at center. Remember, Miami controlled the tip to start the first half of play. Indiana has the ball now, since there was no jump ball situation in the first half. The Hoosiers with the ball and the lead. I can see some fairness and some unfairness about things like this, John.
It goes away from the fact that the old 5-second rule used to be a jump ball. Now it's the other team's possession.
Okay, Tom Rucker caught Uwe Blop moving his foot as he tried to station himself for that turnaround hook. The turnover for the Hoosiers, the first of the second half. And Indiana gives up the ball without a basket. So 42-33 is the way the score stands. It's Farm Bureau Insurance, and nearly 700 Farm Bureau Insurance agents in Indiana are your hosts for today's game and many others throughout this entire season. Next Tuesday night, of course, Notre Dame here at Assembly Hall, 7:30. Lewis, underneath, good feed by Swigert, picked off by Indiana. Quick hands by Randy Wittman, and Ted Kitchel got the ball. Gets it right back from Thomas. Over the shoulder goes Blop. He just lays it up in there. Blop has 8 points.
Good play by Uwe that time. Again, the good hands. He'll put out the hand he wants the ball thrown to. Kitchel got up high that time. He gets right around his man, takes that big step, and he's right in front of the basket.
Lewis. Swigert, Blop all over him. Shot by Tubbs is good. There's that left-handed shot that John was telling about.
Tony Brown again was coming over to help off a little bit. Miami saw that Tubbs was open, got him the ball for the quick shot. Tony's got to get back a little quicker to put more pressure on Tubbs.
Tony Brown. Now Randy Wittman. And Jim Thomas. Boy, what a great game he had against North Carolina last year in the NCAA. Here's Blop going after the ball out of bounds. Last touch by Miami. Good hustle by Swigert.
Again, Tony Brown had the ball on top, and Uwe was open. They've got to learn to throw Uwe the ball at 8 or 9 feet high, because the other players can get to it. That time, a high lob pass would have been, Uwe would have been the only one able to get it. Tony threw it a little bit low. Swigert was able to knock it out of bounds.
Here it is to Blop. He's in good position now. Likes to come back out on top. Under it goes again. Up. No good. And Swigert out with the ball. Stolen by Brown. Kicked away, and Indiana has it. They call it over and back. And I know that that'll bring Bob Knight up, because Tom Rucker makes the call. Coach Knight is complaining that Indiana did not have control as he came back over to pick it up. But Rucker says no, and it's going to be a ball for Miami as we have a contact lens loose. Apparently, George Swigert has lost his lens, so we'll spend a couple of minutes here looking for a little piece of plastic, and all of a sudden, one of the assistant coaches has found it.
Tony Brown made a good defensive play that time. He kind of looked back like a defensive back would. He saw that pass come and snuck in there and got it. He couldn't quite control it. The problem was that the ball came loose right at the 10-second line. Jimmy Thomas did all he could to grab the ball. It happened to be right at the 10-second line. He's called for over and back.
18 minutes left to play in this ball game, the first of the 1981-82 season. a lot of fine games to be coming your way on the Farm Bureau Insurance Network. Specifically for Indiana, it's Miami today, Notre Dame next Tuesday, and a week from Tuesday at Kentucky. A couple of games down here we'll be telling you about later on. That's the Hoosier Classic, the Indiana Classic, Friday and Saturday, the 11th and 12th. And Tulane also on the Indiana schedule this year. That game will not be telecast on the Farm Bureau Insurance Network, however. We hope you'll make your plans to be with us throughout the entire year. Here's Tubbs to the right side. Brown. Tubbs appears to be just about a step quicker than Tony. Underneath, picked off by Blob. Beats it up. Thomas leads. Brown shoots, misses. Down quickly comes Liza. Lewis. Turnaround by Swigert is good. Little fall away turnaround, his 14th point. And even over a 7-2 man, that shot, if you've worked on it, that's 2 points.
Tough shot that time. He did have to fall away because Uwe is getting that hand up awful high. Swigert's really come to play today.
Kitchel to Thomas in the corner. Whitman back to Brown. He fires. And off of the rim. No good. Tipped away. Here's the big hustle by Flop for the ball. Now the boy moves pretty well. Kitchel. He'll fire and connect. 17 by 10.
Good hands by Uwe that time. Again, you say he hustled out there, but he grabbed onto the ball before anybody else could get it.
Lewis. Now he turn around, and we have a 5-second call. Now, again, John, here's an application, as we understand, of the alternating inbounds after the jump. So it still belongs to Miami.
As it turned out this time, it worked against Indiana. If it's not your turn to get the ball, you really have to hold them for 2 5-second calls in order for you to get the ball.
Swigert. No good. Rebound. Good position underneath. Blocked away. As he goes to take the shot, Tim Kroger is fouled, and Blop will pick up his 3rd personal.
Here's the shot by Miami. A good reverse layup that time. Uwe a little out of position. Again, position call that time. Kroger took it right up and drew the foul.
Kroger will be shooting 2. Substitution, Steve Bouchie back in for Indiana. Zube will sit down. Zube leads the game with 8 points and 3 personals. And immediately, Gene Davis, one of the assistant coaches, moves right over to talk to Ube. Second shot by Kroger is good. He has 3. Miami has 38. Trail the Hoosiers by 8. Jim Thomas. Indiana now with Brown and Thomas. Wittman with the ball. Kitchel and Bouchie. The shot by Randy Wittman. His 6th point, all from the field. And the Hoosiers stretch back to a 10-point lead, 48-38. Tubbs. Kroger looks for room to move and travel.
Tubbs is really looking to get things going that time. You saw Tony Brown again trying to force him away from his left hand. He likes to go left. You got to keep control of Tubbs to beat this Miami team.
Indiana with 2 men back now. Bouchie goes under, and Randy Wittman sets it up with Jim Thomas on top. Brown to Wittman.
A little more patience this time on offense.
Under to Kitchel. He fires from hip. 19 points for Ted.
Ted's really asserting himself more, I can see, in this first game. With the loss of Tolbert, Turner, and Isaiah Thomas from last year's team, he's got to pick up a lot of slack. When he gets the ball, he's got to look to score.
He goes to Kroger, deflected by Brown. And we have timeout. With 15:15 left to play, you're watching Indiana basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Indiana leads Miami 50-38.
Attention, calling all cars. Subject, your Ford dealer's parts and service. The parts. Your Ford dealer uses genuine Motorcraft and Ford brand parts. The service, done by Ford-trained mechanics who know how to do the job right. Special offer. Yes, your participating Ford dealer is offering a Motorcraft oil and filter change, complete with labor at a price that's very competitive. Conclusion. For competitive prices and convenient one-stop service, see your Ford dealer.
When time is back in, it'll be Miami's ball. Liza to toss it in. And he comes right to Tubbs. Again, remember, he likes to go. Tubbs does to his left. This time he drives around Tony to the right. We have a foul underneath against Indiana. It's on number 54. That's Steve Bouchie, his second. And a shooting foul. That will put Craig Tubbs at the line. He's only 5'11". It's interesting how well this Miami team, or how any small player, John, really likes to contest a larger player.
They use their quickness very well. That time he went to his right, which is the way he wants him to go. Kitchel and Bouchie were both there on defense and held their position very well. Tubbs just made a good play.
Tubbs has 7 on the first of a 2-shot foul. And the second is good. 8 points for Tubbs, 40 for Miami. They trail the Hoosiers by 10. We have 15 minutes left to play. Brown. Now Thomas. Indiana with a lot of its offense down low, below the foul line extended. Now Kitchel goes down again. And Indiana will try the right side. Good defense by Miami. Wittman has it knocked away. Out of his hand, it'll be Indiana's ball. Good defense by Miami.
Good patience by IU also. You've got to, when the other team's playing good defense, you don't want to take a bad shot. That's what they want you to do. You've got to have the patience and composure. Take your time. That time the ball knocked out of bounds, but Indiana still controls it. You've got to bring the ball in now, move your offense, control the game, and try to get the basket.
Chuck Stahl comes in, bringing a little more height into the Miami lineup as Liza takes a rest. Here's Brown. Feeds, loose, and picked up by Miami. Brown went up for the shot, elected to pass it off, and it was deflected by a Redskin. So Miami with a chance to work back into this game. Tubbs. Now 54 is Swigert. No good. Rebound to Miami. The Hoosiers not getting to the ball. Shot by Tubbs is good.
Tubbs got to go to his left that time. On the rebound, he was fed, had one dribble to his left and got the shot.
Here's Kitchel. Tipped up, no good. Whistle, travel against Miami. It'll be Indiana's ball.
Kitchel with a good baseline shot that time. Ended up with 2 Miami players on the ball, fighting for possession, called traveling.
And here's Bouchie, and it's taken right away from him on the pass to Brown by Tubbs. A feed to Lewis. He puts it up and in. Craig Tubbs to Billy Lewis. Lewis has 6. Miami has cut the Indiana margin to 6, 50-44. Bouchie, offensive foul, and a good move by number 42. That's Tim Kroger drawing that foul for Bouchie, number 3.
Indiana a little hurried on offense now. Bouchie's got the ball, thinks he has the opening there. Call for the charging foul.
John Flowers replaces Bouchie in the Indiana lineup. Chuck Dunn in for Swigert for Miami. And the Redskins down by 6. A chance to whittle that 2 more. As Lewis takes it right side, guarded by Thomas. Finds his way all the way through. Tipped away by Flowers. Loose ball. And again, Miami comes up with it. Tubbs. Brown has his hands full with Tubbs. It comes back out on top to Dahl. Tubbs, good. Greg Tubbs with 12 points. And it's 50-46. Indiana with the lead. Flowers, Thomas, good head fake, and good shot.
Good play by Jim Thomas. Randy Wittman does a good job of that, and so does Jimmy Thomas. You've got to fake that jump shot, let the other player get in the air, take one dribble around him, and now you've got a clear shot.
Here's Tubbs. He's looking for room there, and they did it to Brown. We're just talking about what happened. He turned right around, Tubbs did, and did it to Tony Brown. So for Brown, that's personal foul number 2 as we look again.
Tubbs a lot more effective on offense in the second half. You see him take control of this offense. He can do that. He gets Tony Brown to get up on his feet, forces the shot up. Tony called for the foul.
Tubbs with 12 points. And we'll be at the line. A little bit of perspiration on the floor. 52-46. Indiana's lead is 6, but Tubbs, his previous trip to the line, 2 for 2. 5 field goals. 5'11". He draws a lot of respect from his opponents. Here's the first, and bounces around, drops through.
Okay, when it's released, we go.
12 minutes, 19 seconds left to play. Good look at Tubbs. Again, off the rim, this time no good. And Flowers with the rebound. Thomas, now Chuck Franz in at that last foul to Jim Thomas. Replacing Tony Brown, Franz did. Here it is, Franz with the ball again. Wittman. Bounces to Flowers, turn around, is high and drops through.
Good play by Randy that time. He knew Flowers open. He had to take one quick dribble down toward the baseline to get a better angle on the pass. That enabled Flowers to take a quick turnaround jump shot.
Great play. Good drive underneath by Miami, but Flowers came down with a shot that was short. Here's Wittman all alone. That's his favorite spot. Kitchel, rebound. It's good, and he's fouled.
Jim Thomas very quick on that play, bringing the ball up the floor. Oftentimes it's best to stop at the free throw line. This time he gave it off to Randy. Kitchel with the rebound. Goes up strong for the three-point play.
Second personal foul on George Swigert. Puts Kitchel at the line. He has 21 points. A little bit more intensity in this last exchange, John, by Indiana. Both teams, however, playing very well. We have timeout. With 11:32 left to play, you're watching Indiana basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Indiana leads Miami 57-47.
Hey, Doc, wake up, Doc. Oh, man, Mumford's taken sick. It's bad.
I'll be right there.
Whatever happened to the guy who was on call whenever you called?
Come on, girl. Get out.
The kind of guy who'd give his word and you could take it as gospel. The kind of guy who'd come through for you because it mattered to him. Today, he works for Farm Bureau Insurance.
Oh, Ken, I'm glad you came.
That was quite a storm that blew through here.
It took the roof clear off the garage.
Listen, we really appreciate your coming out in the middle of the night like this.
Loose ball on the court, back to action again. Indiana comes up with it, leading by 10, 57-47. Here's Wittman.
Good defense that time. A half-court trap. Both Indiana defensive players fight for the ball. Fast break to Wittman.
Number 5 is Willoughby. It goes to Don. No good. Miami takes the deep rebound, though. Back out it comes Liza. Shot is no good, tipped up and in by 44. That's Don. And Jim Thomas took a hard drop to the floor. He's back up on his feet. Our first chance to see the new trainer for IU. There he is in the shot. We'll look at it again, John.
Lysouth with the shot, Don with the rebound. Miami shooting 5 of 9 in the second half, 55%. Indiana 7 of 13, 53%. 5 turnovers already in the half for Indiana.
Trainer for Indiana is Tim Garl, G-A-R-L. Replaces a longtime friend of Indiana, who's been with this school for many, many years, Bob Young, who has taken an opportunity to go into private business.
Bob Young did a terrific job over all the years that Coach Knight's been here. He's more than a trainer. He really helped the team on the road trips with anything they needed. The team's really sorry that Bob Young decided to leave.
Come over and talk about a timeout.
You heard a couple of words from Coach Knight. We have a courtside microphone down there that does bring out a lot of presence of conversation, both on the scoring bench as well as on each bench. Darrell Hedrick, who has not really gotten down to center court too much recently, but Coach Knight, as well many who have followed him for the past 10 seasons, now in his 11th with Indiana, realize that he certainly stands up and defends his players and defends the ethics of the game. Discussion apparently, John, something about a timeout for the player down on the floor.
Not quite sure what the officials are discussing right now.
Well, we have a timeout. Apparently there's been a timeout charge to Indiana. We were trying to stand here and watch and see what was going to happen. At any rate, IU has been charged with a timeout. So you're watching Indiana basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. The Hoosiers lead the Redskins 59-49.
Those men are taking my coal out of my good farmland.
Amex Coal Company, at your service. You see, Mother Nature, America needs energy and food-producing farmland.
You've turned that mine into a wheat field.
Or pasture land for livestock. With a little planning, we can have all the things we need.
Well, you see that you do.
Don't you worry, Mother Nature.
Caring about the way we use the land.
You're meeting the action. Nothing has transpired. Indiana just brought the ball up following the timeout by Indiana. Flowers with it now for the Hoosiers. He'll fire. Here comes Miami. Lewis drives on Franz, whistle, and they're going to call an offensive foul. Billy Lewis with his first as we look again.
Good position by Franz. There he went to the left. Lewis forces the contact for an offensive foul.
10 minutes, 23 seconds left to play as you look at Darrell Hedrick. 12 years at Miami, a record of well over 500, 161, 120. Lost a couple of good players this last year. Chuck Franz. Out of bounds through the legs of Ted Kitchel. So Miami will bring it up. Number 5, John Willoughby, 6'1". Really doesn't look that tall. 6'1", he's a sophomore. Played at Willard High School. Whistle and a foul. Franz. As Tim Kroger tried to split the Indiana defense, Franz is called for the personal.
Franz helping that time on Kitchel. Takes a swat at the ball, and his body motion pushed him right into Kroger.
That is the 5th foul against Indiana. Neither team in the 1-1. Miami's committed only 2 in the second half. He comes back to Tubbs. He's on the side of the floor he likes to be. High pass to Willoughby. Penetrates. Here's Tubbs all alone over Kitchel. Good. Craig Tubbs. 15 points for Tubbs. And it's a 59-51 game. The Hoosiers in the lead with 9.5 minutes left to play. Wittman, Franz, and Chuck Franz drags his foot. Turnover for the Hoosiers, and costly at this stage with 9 minutes left to play, John.
He wanted to pass to Wittman. Just as he's about ready to let go of the ball, Randy made a cut toward the basket. He would have thrown the ball out of bounds. The referee caught him for travel.
John Flowers is replaced by Uwe Blop. The Hoosiers getting a little bit more height in there on the board, 4 inches, 5 inches. Lewis. Tubbs knocked away. Kitchel down on the floor after it, but again, Miami with the recovery and the ball. There's a push-off. No call. And near steal by Wittman. Again, Lewis underneath. Grabbed by Kitchel. A good hustle for the ball. Willoughby fires and hits. John Willoughby with his first 2 points. A semblance of really almost alley ball right there in the shot. But nonetheless, it results in 2 points for Miami. Turnaround hook. No good by Flop. And a foul on Willoughby as he reaches over the extended arms of Ted Kitchel.
Indiana's forcing the loose ball on defense. They just got to come up with it. Here's the pass into Uwe. He's got that jump hook shot. He falls short that time. Kitchel on the rebound. The slap from behind.
Checking in, number 43, Emmanuel for Miami. Swigert goes to the bench for a rest, and at the line, shooting 2, is Ted Kitchel with 22 points. Make that 23. Eight minutes, 32 seconds left as you look at the young man. Played his high school ball at Lewis Cass. Second is good. Roger Schnepp is coach up there. Willoughby all the way to the right side, foul line. Tubbs. Lewis. Willoughby. Foul. It'll be on France. That is Chuck's second as we watch it again.
Willoughby with a move to the baseline. There you see Chuck force him to the baseline, but he gets inside. Willoughby gets inside position on Chuck, forces the foul.
So Franz sits down, takes a rest, and Rick Rory from Muncie in there to replace Franz. As you look at Coach Knight talking to his young junior from Clarksville. Both free throws are good. Willoughby has 4. Miami 55, trailing by 6. Kitchel, top of the key, looks underneath. There's Rory there, but he has no shot. Kitchel, top of the key, no good. High in the air goes Thomas, but it's out of bounds off his hands. And once again, the inability right at this moment to grasp that ball coming off the boards is costing Indiana some opportunities.
That shot taken probably a few steps out too far. Coach Knight likes to see a better shot taken. Again, Jimmy Thomas just lost the ball out of bounds.
Here's Tubbs firing, no good. And a foul underneath. It's going to be on 42. That's Kroger. As Ted Kitchel had excellent position for the rebound.
There's a shot by Tubbs. Good defense by Jimmy Thomas. He had fine position. Kitchel had to reach way over his head to get that ball. Kroger on the slap. Indiana's ball.
It'll be Kitchel to inbound to either Rore or to Thomas. Now Jim Thomas tries to set it up. Rore. Whistle. Travel. Costly little step mistakes made by Indiana.
Ted was a little hesitant that time. He took that shot from 18 before top of the key and missed it. This time he was about 15 feet, which was a good shot for him, but he remembered that last miss. Took a little longer than he wanted to. Got called for the turnover.
61-55 the score. Indiana with the lead. 7 minutes, 6 seconds remaining. This is Tubbs. Now Willoughby. Feed off shot, no good. Manuel had the easy one underneath. As a good assist from Willoughby set him up, but he missed, and here are the Hoosiers. Now Thomas. The flop. No good. Tipped away. And it's out of bounds. Indiana traveling, and that brings Darrell Hedrick up. Now they say no travel. He said he slid into the baseline. Six minutes, 31 seconds left. Nearly 700 Farm Bureau insurance agents in Indiana certainly hope that you're enjoying this game. We'll be with us Tuesday night for our game with Notre Dame from Assembly Hall, 7:30 game time. Whistle, away from the ball, and a foul. It'll be on number 42 of Miami. That's Kroger, his third.
Uwe was trying to get inside position that time. Kroger doing all he can to try to prevent the big 7-footer from getting inside. Called for the foul that time.
5 team fouls against Miami, 6 against Indiana. The Hoosiers have the ball out, and they set the baseline play. It comes into Rore. Wittman. That is a set play, and it works to either side of the floor. Wittman passes, goes baseline, and comes open on the left or on the right. Tubbs, Willoughby, Swigert, Willoughby, now Tubbs all alone. No good. And again, Indiana unable to contain the ball off the boards. That was a bad bounce, a very erratic bounce, but that's no excuse. Here's a bad pass from Smith intended for Willoughby, who Smith felt would be cutting back to the point.
Good pressure that time, caused the turnover. Indiana had given Tubbs a good open shot that time, simply because they were helping out, and Tubbs was the man open way in the corner. He missed the shot. That time the Indiana pressure caused a turnover.
Comes into Thomas. Now Rore, about 8 feet off the top of the key. And Thomas again. Whistle. We'll check to see as Chuck Muncie, or Gary Muncie rather, that comes over to make the call. It's foul against number 10, Craig Tubbs. He is second. So the team fouls are even, 6 and 6.
Jim Thomas was working for inside position that time. He's a couple inches bigger than Tubbs. Was coming up to the dotted line. Tubbs pushed him off with his hands.
Into Blop. Now to Rore. Kitchel. And Kitchel travels again. Just a little bit out of stride, and as he drew up to shoot, moved the pivot foot. 63-55, and we've held stationary in this area now for about 2 minutes. 5:14 left to play. Here's a steal by Jimmy Thomas. He'll drive and stop.
Good play by Jimmy Thomas. The anticipation. He takes 2 quick dribbles, stuffs it home.
And Darrell Hedrick's down to midcourt and wants a timeout. So with 4 minutes, 53 seconds left to play, you're watching Indiana basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Indiana leads Miami 65-55.
We got that. Oh, man, Mumford's taken sick. It's bad.
I'll be right there.
Whatever happened to the guy who was on call whenever you called? The kind of guy who'd come through for you because it mattered to him. Today, he works for Farm Bureau Insurance.
That was quite a storm that blew through here.
It took the roof clear off the garage.
Listen, we really appreciate it.
Assembly Hall is the crowd of 13,432. That's a pretty good crowd, John, considering it's vacation time on the campus. Raised their voices during this timeout period to show their appreciation and their loyalty, of course, to the Big Red.
Indiana so far 10 of 20 in the second half, 50%. Miami's 8 of 17, 47%. Turnovers have really hurt both teams. Indiana has 8, Miami has 9.
Substitution, Liza back in the lineup. Lewis will inbounds, and he goes right to Willoughby. The ball in midcourt, 4 minutes, 51 seconds left to play. Willoughby guarded by Brown. And to Swigert. He has blocked all over the top of him there. There's the 5-second call again, and it'll be Indiana's ball. Remember, the last time Indiana had to do it twice under jump ball situations. There is no jump ball anymore. Alternate opportunities to take the ball out of bounds. This time it's Indiana's. Brown to Thomas. 4.5 minutes remain in this game. Indiana with the 10-point lead, 65-55. Brown.
A little more patience this time on offense. I'm sure Coach Knight, the last time out, wants the players to get control of this game. Already we've seen 5 or 6 passes. Wait till you get that good shot.
All right, now, John, Indiana has drawn most of its offense out above the foul line extended. There's a pass right through the hands of Blopp. One of the first ones we've seen him miss today. We'll talk about it again as Indiana gets into that situation once again. Here's Blopp over the shoulder, committing the foul, and going to the line will be 54 George Swigert. Ube, his 4th personal foul. Ube with 3 minutes, 55 seconds left to play. May or may not see more action, but he leads the game with 8 points and 4 fouls. Here's Swigert's first. Good. Swigert from Fort Wayne North, coached by Hay. It's on the second. He has 16. And it's an 8-point lead, 65-57. Now again, Indiana's offense is above the foul line extended. John, is this, they want to clear out underneath the basket, pull Miami out? Is this the purpose?
This is the type of offense that you want to use late in the game when you want to get that layup basket. All the players above the foul line. You're looking for that back cut. Notice how the players pass, cut through the middle. There, Jimmy Thomas did it. If you can get open, there's no one else to contest you as you go toward the basket.
This is Wittman. Thomas drives and misses, and he's going to be called for an offensive foul. Willoughby moving over, recognizing the drive was there and just picked up the position.
Good move by Tony. He's going to his left, 2 quick dribbles. Willoughby sliding over for position. Tony called for the foul.
There's Coach Knight talking to Tony. Tony, as a junior, did not get all that much playing time last year. Still in a learning situation. Of course, I guess when you sit behind Isaiah Thomas, you're not going to get too much unless Isaiah gets in trouble.
One of the advantages, of course, is playing against a guy like Isaiah every day in practice. It's really helped Tony.
Shot by Willoughby is no good, and Thomas down with it, gives it to Brown, and here's Tony, sets it up left.
Get down.
Rory. Now Jimmy Thomas. Again, his offense working underneath. Whistle, and Rucker calls the foul. It'll be offensive foul against Indiana. And Jimmy Thomas picking that personal up as he ran right into a Miami defender. His second. 2 minutes, 55 seconds. We're just under the 3-minute mark, so there's still plenty of time for Miami to make a contest out of it. And again at the line is Willoughby. This time it trickles over the front of the rim and drops through. John Willoughby. We have a timeout with 2:55 left, called by Miami. You're watching Indiana basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Indiana leads Miami 65-58.
Whatever happened to the guy who went out of his way so you wouldn't have to? And who carried the idea of service all the way to your front door? Today, he works for Farm Bureau Insurance.
Your policy came in today, so I thought I'd drop it by.
Right, you didn't have to do that.
Assembly Hall, as you see the scoreboard clock, 2 minutes 55 seconds remaining. Indiana with a 7-point lead as Willoughby attempts to cut that margin one more, does not. Here's a rebound. Oh, great shot by Swigert as he moved inside to get position. 18 points by Swigert, and instead of being just a 1-point differential on the play, it's now a 5-point 65-60 margin, as that was a 3-point opportunity at the line. One free throw and a rebound basket by Swigert. Bouchie, Indiana now has gone back into a pattern motion offense that they've used throughout the game against the man-to-man. Posting, however, Bouchie at the top of the key. Brown holds it up, does not elect to drive baseline. I tell you, Tubbs is very quick. Brown has a good first quick move, but Tubbs is covering right away. And a 5-second call against Indiana as nobody could come to the ball.
Good defense by Miami that time. Indiana again is trying to get that ball low for that layup shot. They worked a little too long that time. Got held up for the 5-second call.
Craig Tubbs, number 10, with the ball, sets the play. It's the fifth play. Takes it left side, tries to drive. Out of bounds, Indiana. The action speaks for itself. Tubbs really trapped. It was a 2-man trap, and then after he made the pass and got his other man involved in that thing, all of a sudden became 3 men because Indiana's other defense man was over there involved in the play. We have a whistle and a foul, and I believe it's going to be on Miami. A dead ball foul against number 12. That's Steve Allen, his first. And so both teams in the 1-on-1. Indiana will make the long walk to the other end to shoot.
Miami, of course, going to a full court press now. They're 5 points down with 2 minutes to go. Very much in the ball game. They've got to create a situation where they can get the ball for that quick basket.
The line will be Rick Roray. Bill Harrell is coach at Muncie Central. Roray has not had, nor has he taken the opportunity to shoot while he's been in the lineup tonight, and this has seen considerable play. And here's the first of a 1-on-1, and it's no good. Rebound comes off in the hands of Swigert. Miami within 5. Plenty of time, 1 minute 47 seconds left to play. Over to Willoughby. Tries to drive on Roray. Tubbs backing in. Swigert back to Tubbs. No good. And Jimmy Thomas up with the hands to pull that ball away as both he and Bouchie went hard to the board. Brown. Roray, now Brown. Bouchie. And a foul. Swigert picks up his third. So Bouchie from Washington, Indiana will move to the line for the first time tonight with 1:16 left to play.
Much better that time on offense. The players knew what they were going to do with the ball before they did it. It makes a big difference. It's like leaving the ball, jumping in the air without knowing what you're going to do with the ball.
Substitutions, Lewis and Lizeth back in for Miami. John, we commented before the game, you and I, that since Miami's offense very, very similar to Indiana's offense and defense likewise, they play a man-to-man and a lot of motion underneath with picking and screening away from the ball. Doesn't this cause each team a little bit of trouble? They're basically looking at their own defense and their own offense.
Exactly right.
Indiana misses the free throw. It's still 65-60. Here's Lewis. Over Thomas, and Thomas is called for the foul. Tom Rucker making the call. Jim Thomas with his third as we look again.
Jimmy's forcing to the left here. He's got his hands high. Call for the foul that time. 2 shots.
Lewis will go to the line shooting. He is from Cincinnati. He's a transfer from Mount Healthy High School. Transfer from Kansas State. Played some ball out there a couple of years ago. 7 points for Lewis. 65-61, minute 9. Second shot is good. 65-62. Suddenly a 10-point game becomes a 3-point game. Indiana trouble getting it in. Now to Rore. And he works to the cross against Willoughby. Foul. Willoughby, number 5, draws the personal foul. Rick Rore showing a lot of cool handling the ball, looking for the open man and the opportunity.
He got the ball deep in the corner on the full court press, had the width to bring it all the way up the floor. The important thing is he didn't pick up his dribble. He didn't have anybody to pass to, so he kept dribbling, kept moving until he was fouled.
Rore with a 1-and-1. And the first is good. Rick is 6'6", 185. Good frame. And a good ball handler. It's nice to have tall men be able to handle the ball that well. Rick can also be used as a swing man if the occasion does occur. Lewis, fall away jumper. Oh, boy, he is right on the mark with that one. 10 points for Lewis. Again, the pressure. Brown brings it up against Tubbs. And now Trapp gets it over to Wittman. Now Rore will set it high. 31 seconds remaining. Indiana leads 67-61. Good move by Rore there as he drew Lewis off his feet and then turned around to let Lewis commit the foul.
Here's Rick again on the dribble. Keeps his dribble. Sees a double team coming, but knew he was going to get fouled. He would have passed the ball off to Wittman on the double team, but saw the foul coming.
Gary Muncy hands the ball to Rore. The 1-and-1 first on its way, and no good. 25 seconds left. Lewis across the line. Takes it right in the middle, fires, no good. There's Thomas inside, good position. And we have a foul, a reaching over foul called on Swigert, his 4th. That'll send Jim Thomas to the line.
Big play by Jimmy Thomas. Here he doesn't foul Lewis. It's a fadeaway jump shot. Lewis misses. Jimmy Thomas right there for the rebound. Hangs onto it tough. Swigert over the back with the foul.
Jim Thomas, as timeout has been called by Miami with 16 seconds. You're watching Indiana basketball on the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. Indiana leads Miami by 3, 67-64. Now, do we have a commercial at the end of the game? All right, okay. All right.
Well, we're doing on time.
We're in good shape.
We're going over?
Yeah. Good. Okay. There's a good look at Jim Thomas as Tom Rucker prepares to hand him the ball. Thomas from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 6'3" and a junior. The first of a 1-and-1 is on its way and good. 16 seconds and a 4-point lead. 68-64 for Indiana. Have led by as many as 10 on several occasions. Second is also good. And now it's a 69-64 5-point advantage. Tubbs fires. No good. Tipped out of bounds, last touch by Tony Brown. 8 seconds left on the clock. Darrell Hedrick up calling to his trigger man or out of bounds man, play number 3.
Okay, call out a switch.
Lewis looks in, knocked away by Bouchie, put up off the glass by Swigert, and Wittman has the rebound, and he's fouled immediately by Lewis. Billy's 4th foul. With 3 seconds left to play.
Good defense that time. Tubbs with the ball. He had it going to his left, too, which is where he wanted to go. He wanted to get a shot up as quick as he could. Tony Brown, the defense that time, forced him into the corner, but didn't let him get the baseline. We've talked about it a lot today. He stopped him at 15 feet. Tubbs had to make a tough shot, and he missed.
Randy Wittman with 10 points. Tries to add the 11th and does. 70-64, 3 seconds left. Here's the second. And it's good. Wittman has 12. Indiana has 71, and that's just about the way it's going to end, as a floor-length desperation shot by Chuck Stahl goes off the glass. And we've come to the end of this contest. That's the end of the game. Final score, Indiana 71 and Miami 64. Now, we'll be back to talk with our post-game comments after we hear from our local stations. This is the Farm Bureau Insurance Basketball Network. So the first game of the 1981-82 season is underway and over, and final score 71-64 as Indiana comes out with his first victory. It was a game that had a lot of problems, John, but nonetheless, a win is a win.
Well, it was a little sloppy. You could tell it was the first game of the year. The kids played hard. They just didn't control the turnovers, make enough good plays. And I think obviously they're going to have to do that before next Tuesday's game against Notre Dame.
Absolutely. High point man of the game was Ted Kitchel with 24 points. The high point honors for Miami went to George Swigert with 18. Uwe Blob had 8 points. Randy Wittman had 12. Jim Thomas 10 for the multiple figure scores from Indiana. Billy Lewis had 10 and Craig Tubbs had 15 for Miami. The executive producer for Indiana basketball is Michael Davis. Today's game was produced and directed by Bob Caldwell. Our network director, Dean McDowell. Audio, Fred Lawrence. Video, Ken Houchin, Mike Mettert, and Henry Tuck. On camera, Steve Haynes, Brad Hutton, Kurt Edwards, and Jeff Reiner. Our floor director, Colin Carter. Video replays by Dick Blair and graphics by Debbie Orr. Any reproduction of this telecast is strictly forbidden without the express written permission of Farm Bureau Insurance and Indiana University, which also has approval of the announcers used in this telecast. And now this is Chuck Marlowe for John Laskowski, speaking to you from Assembly Hall, inviting you to join us next Tuesday at 7:30 when Indiana meets Notre Dame right here at Assembly Hall in Bloomington. So long, everybody.
You've been watching Indiana University basketball, brought to you for the 10th consecutive year.